Okay, I've started recording. I'm putting up the agenda.
One attendee out there.
I think it's just myself.
And you cutting me loose like you should.
Oh, no, you're right. We do have somebody. Yes.
All right, we ready?
Yes.
Let's bring this meeting to order. This is the December 16th, 2025 Newburyport Conservation Commission meeting taking place in the Senior Community Center and as well as online and Zoom. And this meeting is being recorded. All right, first item is 5 Basin Street, notice of intent. And we have a request for continuance.
Yes.
All right. Can I get a motion to continue?
Do we want to continue to the next meeting or?
Yeah, I got a request from Tom in writing to continue to the January 6th.
Yes, okay.
Motion to continue to January 6th. Second?
Roll call, Barb Riley,
Yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Dan Warshall,
Yes.
Janet Paisley,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, to 23 Low Street, request for determination. Next grid.
Good evening, everyone. This is Luke Olson from TRC Companies.
Good evening.
I would.
And Mike from NextGrid was not able to join us tonight, so it's just going to be me.
Okay.
So where we left. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Emma sent me the tree clearing survey or memo. So I'm just pulling that up. And I know there's a sheet here where you actually identify, here it is, the trees to be
Yes.
removed. Okay, so I'll leave this up, but if you want me to show another page, just let me know.
I think this should suffice. Yeah. So where we left off last time, there was still some questions about just exactly how many trees were going to be removed. And so we, after our last meeting, we did get additional comments from the fire department, and they requested a 10-foot no vegetation zone around the proposed fence line around the energy storage system. So the dotted line, kind of the dotted rectangle in the middle is that fence line. So 10 feet out from there. So all of the green dots that are on the sheet are trees or shrubs that are going to be removed. And then the black dots just on the outer edge were ones that I had flagged out in the field just because I did not have the exact area of exactly where that 10-foot line would be. But after putting together the plans, those were determined to be outside of the area. So those will not be removed. In total, it is 47 trees and shrubs that are proposed to be removed, 30 of which are those autumn olive shrubs that we had talked about last time. Additionally, there are 7 black locust trees of various sizes on the western side of the project site. There will be a cluster of poles for the overhead line in that area. So due to the height of those black locust trees, it could potentially interfere if there was, a storm and one of them fell. It could interfere with the overhead lines. So that's why those ones were proposed to be removed. And then lastly, there were 10 small staghorn sumac shrubs on the eastern side, 8 of which were under the 4-inch DBH size. Just to give a little bit more context, all of the marked trees and shrubs are in the table on the right side of this plan.
When you say remove, are you just cutting them down or are you physically digging the roots out too?
I don't know if the roots will be dug out. I would guess probably not. Yeah,
those autumn olives will more than likely grow right back.
right. Right. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what equipment they will be using to remove the trees in question and shrubs in question. I would assume maybe a grubber, but I think that would probably be a little bit more than is necessary. I would assume they'd just cut it down to the stump.
Yeah, because they will come back pretty quick.
Right.
Would maybe getting the stumps ground down might slow them down a bit. But yeah, I would think you're gonna be back in this situation next year, almost, if they're not gotten completely rid of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I will definitely run that up the table and let the people from NextGrid know about that, since they will be the ones doing the actual removal.
Okay.
It's too bad they're not here because there's a mitigation issue here too, where you're removing all these things. Something needs to be planted to replace them, preferably something native.
Yep. So I had put together a little list of proposed species to replant. So since there were going to be 10 staghorn sumac shrubs removed, we would be happy to replace those with staghorn sumac as well. I guess the question was, do we need to replace all of the trees and shrubs that will be removed, even the autumn olives, or just the native species, which were those black locust and the staghorn sumac?
I guess I'd like to see even the autumn olive, because otherwise it'll just be bare ground there or until the autumn olive grows back. So and for the autumn olive, I don't know that it needs to be 1-to-1, but certainly 50% of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, we can. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say we could certainly do a 50% replacement of the of the 30 autumn olives that will be removed. So another species that we had identified was sweet fern. This is a low growing native shrub, and it will definitely take over part of the area and can certainly add some beneficial use to this site. Other species that could be involved in this could be maple leaf viburnum or sweet pepperbush. These are both more low growing and will not, get crazy big by any means. So I guess what we wanted to confirm was just how many replacements that the commission would like to see.
50%, just not, somebody wants more than that, then.
Well, I think considering what you're taking out of there, replace them with 50% of them with native species would be okay with me.
Okay.
And just to clarify, my understanding is that these would have to be replaced with low growing species, as Luke says, just because of the fire safety
Right.
concerns.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so those shrubs are perfect.
So the other fly in the ointment here is that typically when we have mitigation plantings, we require 2 growing seasons before we close out something. But we don't have anything to close out yet. We don't have an NOI with an order of conditions. And just putting a condition in there. There's nothing that says that in 2 years, if they all die, that these guys have to be back and replant. Unless we make that part of the condition, but.
That's true. Yeah, if you were to issue, for those who haven't seen it, as an example, a negative determination and say, the work is in the buffer zone, it will not alter the resource area as long as the following conditions are followed. We can put conditions in there, but as Steve points out, it's different than an NOI because an NOI requires a pre-construction meeting with me to go over exactly what will happen, and kind of more clear consequences if conditions are not followed during construction, and then the applicant would also need to come back to close out the permit.
And the other problem is, they don't own the land, they're just leasing it,
That's true.
so. We're left with nothing to hold over them if they don't do what we ask.
I had a question that it hadn't occurred to me in the last meeting. The, they're gonna be doing some dewatering. Looks like, from the plans, right? What is the dewatering that's gonna happen?
Yeah, I saw that and was wondering. what the
And,
dewatering
and
is.
it also, I was just wondering where it's discharging to, because it looks like it's sheet flow just sort of discharging out. You know, it's not like a going to a permitted location. So, Luke, can you expand on that? Cause I mean, how much would that impact the buffer zone in terms of, you know, discharging?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Honestly, that is not really in my scope of this sort of this project. That would have been a better question for Mike, I guess. So yeah, I apologize. I do not know the answer to that right off the top of my head, but I can certainly follow up with Mike and the rest of the team and get you an answer via email as soon as possible.
Mhm.
Well, in that case, are we considering another continuance for that?
I think without knowing how they're gonna really impact or protect. Right, I mean, it looks like they're gonna do some sort of sediment, uh, erosion control. But I mean, it's usually like when you're dewatering, I don't know even why they would have to dewater much. How deep they need to go. But I don't know if this is just in there in case they have to dewater or if they really will dewater.
I thought, my understanding was it was part of their erosion control for rainwater. Like I don't think,
It's separate.
I see.
It's excavation dewatering, so for trenches and for their part of their foundations that probably, and it points at just one location. But it's gotta be for more than that, I would imagine, and. You know, if they're planning on just discharging to the ground, that could potentially impact loans.
Yeah, I'm sending a message to our project manager now just to see if she has a quick response. Otherwise, again, I'll have to follow up about that.
Mhm.
Well, we also have the issue of. How do we hold them to their feet to the fire on 2 years, 2 growing seasons? The only way we can do that is with an NOI and lower conditions.
Yep.
That's another option if the commission decides that to make this project be compliant or meet the performance standards of the wetland and the buffer zone. And you can issue a positive determination of applicability. I think the two most used options are, well, here we're only looking at work within the buffer zone. But if we believe it will alter an area, a resource area, you do have the authority to require a notice of intent.
Well, what if we continue to the next meeting with these questions and make sure somebody from, what is it, Next Gen?
Next group.
Next grid, is here, so we can get some of these issues covered. And then if it's not satisfactory, we can issue a positive determination if we want to.
Since-
Understood. I like I said, I did just message my project manager and she is typing back. I don't want to take too much of a pause, but I just want to see if she has a quick answer about the dewatering.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for Luke?
Any objections to what they're doing, just how we go about it.
Mhm.
Okay. Seems like she is still typing. So if she gets back in the next, few seconds, I will relay the message.
Okay.
So she just came back. She said it may not be necessary, but if it is deemed necessary during construction, the method will be decided by the contractor at the time, and they will consult with Newburyport to ensure that they are under compliance prior to any dewatering activities. Was her response.
Okay, well, we can get, as far as that's concerned, we can have them contact Kelsey and clear it.
Yep.
So now what do we do? Well,
It seems to me they should know whether they're gonna dewater or not, because. They know how deep they're going. And. The surface water is very close by, so you can kind of make an estimate as to, how deep. The groundwater is, and they probably don't need it to do it, but they've got all this language in here saying that they're going to,
yeah,
and so.
all right, well, why don't we just do a continuance and they can come back with the answers next time.
So just real quick, again, my project manager did say it likely won't be necessary, but it's included in the plans to ensure that if conditions arise where it is necessary, the contractor will have to adhere by the Newburyport's ordinances. So from what she's saying, it sounds like they're not expecting it to, but just in case, they need to have that language in there to make sure that the contractor does follow all the standard procedures.
Can she explain, like, if it's necessary, where will the water be discharged to? Do you seek a permit to discharge that water, or would it be discharged to the site? Further down gradient of the project area?
Yep. Just sent her a follow-up message. She's getting back.
Is there anywhere in the notes that says that they would have to stop work? I didn't see that and consult with the report.
No, that is a condition we could add, and the conditions, like Steve said, aren't, they're different from the NOI. They're still to an extent enforceable in that I could, they would still have to, like, if it was obvious that they weren't adhering to the conditions, we could revoke our decision.
Or we can issue an enforcement order. Could you do that?
Right, it would just require us and myself kind of keeping an eye on making a point to do a drive-by or stop by, more so than maybe, a project that had an NOI and those check-ins were kind of built into the schedule. So I'm just throwing it out there as something to consider, but it would be reasonable, to go either way and certainly to get more information about what they're proposing here.
I don't necessarily want them to go to all the expense and time of doing the NOI, but at the same time, I'm sure that what we want gets done.
Totally, yeah, it makes sense.
And just another note on the dewatering. So if it was necessary, it would be discharged into the existing stormwater infiltration basin that is on site. But again, the contractor would write up a dewatering plan and submit it to the city prior to a final decision being made on that. So again, it's from my understanding, it's not likely to happen, but this is more just language in place for if it is necessary, then the contractor will have to write up a dewatering plan, submit it to the city prior to anything going on.
you can't just discharge to the stormwater, groundwater, you can't take groundwater out and discharge it necessarily without having any kind of filtration system in place and approval. Right, because it's not going to city sewer, it's going to probably the wetlands right there. So
Yeah.
no NIPD's permit or anything like that.
Hmm.
When we're putting it into the stormwater, the drain, is there something in there that where it will sit for a while and?
I would think if it's a stormwater receiving area, it's got some sort of a what do they call those things? Separator?
Right, or usually we used to get some sort of permit, to discharge. And and so you have a treatment system, I guess it depends. Haven't done it in a long time, but I mean, you don't know the conditions of the soils or anything like that, there's an old industrial
Yeah,
site.
yeah, that's a little bit of a concern too. But if Kelsey has to approve, we're gonna figure out whether you're gonna probably know whether they're gonna need a special permit for it too, right?
I was gonna say, if we, one option could be if we decide to do a DOA this time, but have a condition that if dewatering is planned at any point, they need to notify me. I think it would be reasonable at that point to require an NOI for the dewatering activity, if it's gonna be a release of sediment, untreated into, a retention basin that feeds into a wetland, et cetera. I think there's grounds there to require an NOI. Again, that's just an option that we could consider. And I could make it a point to kind of maybe give more monitoring time to this particular project than I do to some of the other ones.
Okay, yeah, well, how's that sound? Yeah.
Barbara's the expert.
No expert, just, it's just something that's,
It's all relative.
want to make sure it's
That's a good point.
not impacting the wells.
Okay. So what do we, want now? We want a dewatering plan if it has to happen.
And then there's, if we want a condition on the plants, do we do a positive or a negative?
The positive is making it, that turn into an NOI.
Oh,
Yeah,
So be a -3
would be a -3
with the
condition.
planting conditions and the condition that if they encounter a dewater, if dewatering is necessary, then they have to stop. And then notify
Mhm.
Kelsey.
Right, right. So again, yeah, what was already presented to me was that if dewatering was deemed to be necessary, they would contact the Conservation Commission prior and establish a dewatering plan before doing any sort of dewatering.
And just to clarify on the vegetation, did you agree that you'd like 50% of the number of removed plants to be replaced with native low-growing species?
it was 50% of the autumn olive. I think,
Oh, I see.
I think they were going to replace the trees.
Lucas.
One, but
Oh, and the
Yeah,
trees are-
so sorry, so we can replace the 17 native trees and shrubs that are going to be removed, and then like the commission said, half of the 30 autumn olives. So that would be a total of 17 plus 15, so 32, if my math is correct. And that would be that would be both staghorn sumac and sweet fern, which are both low growing shrubs.
and they have to go through 2 growing years before we say Okay.
But that's basically gonna be on us. If we
Right.
approve an RDA. So,
Or it's basically gonna be on their honor, essentially.
yeah,
No, I think we could issue an enforcement order if this is. If they don't survive.
Right.
yeah,
That's true, yeah, it's just a matter of us remembering, and you know, largely me because of my role, but for that time period, kind of setting reminders or something to go get eyes on it and make sure that they're still there. But like Steve said, because it's our negative determination is conditioned on that being true, then if it's not, we could do enforcement.
okay.
Are there soils that would be taken away? It was just, as part of, also as part of the excavation, what if they encounter something? Um. It is an old industrial site. I don't know what was there before, but if they are going to do a significant amount of excavation work and dewatering, I mean, I think it really stops the project. Um,
So maybe you're feeling that it requires it either an NOI or if there's excavation to a certain extent, then it should also be like a notice to kind of like the dewatering. If they dewater, should be a notice if they excavate a certain to a certain depth or a certain square footage.
yeah, I mean, it probably goes hand in hand because if they're gonna excavate to deep water, they're gonna go pretty deep. Now you got this whole soil management issue where you stockpiling soils, where are they gonna remove soils? Are they gonna, um, you know, make sure that they're not stockpiling in a bad location? What if the soils are contaminated? All that. It kind of looked at the beginning, last time when we met on this project, it looked like it was more of a path, without going very deep. And then there was a couple of utility lines that there was no understanding of how deep they were. And now there's a whole dewatering section. And maybe I missed it before, but it sounds like a bigger project the way it's presented than at the onset.
Yeah, because they're taking a good amount out. With a lot of drainage underneath the concrete.
You've got a dense.
It's like, mass process gravel, that's the stone surface, possibly and free draining granular fill. That's,
Different. Yeah. Well, if that's 6 inches,
that's like 3 or 4 feet.
right? And then there's another foot or so below that.
Hmm,
I mean, they're not digging in the wetlands, but still they're very close.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable point to bring up and could factor in to your decision.
I think maybe we need to continue this and get them to explain how deep they're going and what they're doing.
yeah, I think we're gonna need that.
I think to let it be up to the contractor at the last minute, when it could be a substantial issue, potentially.
Yeah.
Is a lot to lay on a contractor, but they should know upfront how deep, where groundwater is and whether or not they're gonna dewater and what the conditions of the soil are that they're gonna be removing.
Yeah, yeah, so,
At least if they've done any kind of background check, they could probably tell whether or not, there's a potential for that to be
yeah,
importance.
I don't know that was an industrial site at one point. In my time living in Newburyport, there was never anything there.
Which would be great, and then
That's,
it's probably
right.
clean and there's no issue, and, you know.
it's not to say that they filled it with good stuff.
There is that.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate they're not here to explain that.
Yeah, well. Hopefully they'll be here at the next one.
Our
Yep,
next meeting
understood.
is January 6th.
Okay, well. Why don't we do that? I think Luke has a lot of our questions. Make a motion,
Motion to continue to January 6th.
Second,
roll call by Riley,
yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Sam Warshall,
Yes,
Janet Daisley, and I vote yes. All right, please have them, come to the next meeting.
Yep, will do. Thank you for your time. Have a nice night.
Thanks, you
Thank
too.
you.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. We have to approve the meeting minutes from is that December 3rd,
Second.
2nd.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying the directions.
Open, dude. Okay. So we have any questions on the minutes? In the last meeting? No concerns? Or motion?
Just
Oh,
in, one of those things we talked about, talked about the X zone. Is there an X zone?
Yeah.
Okay, so that, the house where they're building the deck, the house was in the X zone.
Correct.
Okay.
yeah,
I just had never heard it referred to as the X zone.
It kind of means outside of a flood
Yeah.
zone, but it's also public.
Okay. There's my own question. I thought maybe it was you were saying to put something. Okay, motion to approve meeting minutes of December 2nd.
second,
all right, Barb Riley,
Yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Ann Warshall,
yes.
Janet Daisley, and I vote yes. The chair has no updates. Does the environmental planner have any?
Just two quick ones. Yesterday from our contract Forester Woodsman Inc., I got their first draft of a plan for the city forest. So I'll share that draft with you all tomorrow. He didn't give me a deadline, but he's just generally looking for feedback. So I'll share that with you all. And then this just came up today, so it's kind of late notice, but tomorrow I have a site visit to 20 Henry Graff Road. It's a medical, I don't remember the name of the
Sports medicine.
Sports Medicine North, yeah. So they got a wetlands permit years ago, I think during COVID, and just never closed it out, but now they're applying for a certificate of compliance. It's winter conditions, so but I'll do my best that, once they file, I think we have 21 days to respond, so even though there's snow on the ground, I think we'll be able to verify. I looked at the landscape plans and there's some things in there like having no woody invasives or stands of Phragmites, so at least those, I should be able to verify. And,
There's Phragmites there, I can guarantee that.
yeah, so I'll take photos. If anyone here is interested, I'll be there at 2 p.m. tomorrow. You're welcome to attend. They are on the agenda for the January 6th meeting. And some things you might want to keep in mind for that meeting is, even if we can't observe directly the herbaceous vegetations that is there, I've seen in the past, Julia has, or the commission has, put in perpetual conditions to a certificate and kind of said annual invasive removal in accordance with the landscape, something like that. So there's ways we can try to assure that the landscaping is kept as the commission wanted it. But just want to let you know. And otherwise, I think that's it for this week and until the next meeting.
I think it might actually be in our regulations that we don't do site visits between November 1st or 15th.
There is something similar.
Well, the WPA, as far as I know, doesn't have exceptions for winter conditions, but if I'm wrong, we should let them know.
I've been in their parking lot many times, so I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Me too.
I know this right.
Oh,
That's
Mhm.
Don't see anything that. Oh, yes. Well, for delineations. Maybe reviewed at sole discretion of the commission or its agents between December 1st and April 1st. And shall be reviewed only when site conditions are such that commission or its agents believe they can adequately review the relevant resource area indicators. So. We can go over there and look. And
Yeah.
decide.
So, right, if there's a rule for delineations, again, I've been told there's no exceptions for the filing of a certificate, but I can also reach out to our wetlands circuit rider from the EP and make sure because, these people are really antsy to get the certificate, but I agree it's not ideal to be looking at conditions when it's winter.
Yeah.
So if there is, a way out of that, I think that would be great, but, I haven't seen anything.
They didn't sell the building or something?
Yeah, they're trying to sell the building
They're gonna sell the building?
to another group, I think a similar, just like change in ownership, but maybe a similar use, I'm not sure.
Hmm. This is back to eBay.
everybody's feeling their joints.
Okay,
I can't believe that Mateos would want to live to be from Plum Island every day.
I wouldn't think so either, but he's not the boss. Louis should be high up there. All right, so you're going at 2 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes,
Can I do that? Yes, I can.
okay, great.
Okay. All right, we got anything else?
No,
Yeah,
Motion to adjourn.
all right, roll call, Bart.
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Janet,
yes.
and I vote yes.
It
Alrighty.
was 20 what?
20 Henry Graff Road.